Cheers and welcome my friends, I'm Horath and we are playing Tyranny as a noble mage. Welcome back. We are at the court of Tunon. In the last episode we had we were witnessing a discussion and even sort of bringing out our own statement on the situation in Vendrian's Well. We have a some emissaries of the scholar Kyros over here, and we also have emissaries of the disfavored over there. They were sort of exchanging accusations and trying to shift the blame to the other party about their sort of inability to actually finish the siege in Vendrian's Well. I suspect that they sort of have both been playing a double game. I think we heard one of the options, one of the things that Graven Ash said. It did imply that they had sort of a truce with the Vendrian Guard, which is very concerning, and I'm very sure that the voices of Horath actually actively sabotaged the disfavored. We had this thing with Bitter Quip, where Bitter Quip basically enraged and encouraged Vendrian Guard troops with their magic. And that sort of led to them fighting with way higher strength and will than they would have otherwise, killing a bunch of disfavored soldiers in the process. I had to sort of let him go free because of Kyros' law, because a mage cannot be held accountable for the consequences of his actions. But it was very clear that he actually did it with malicious intent to sort of weaken the disfavored. And I guess the voices of Horath would be able to sort of whittle down the disfavored with 1,000 needles like that, sort of curbing the fighting will of these guys. Yeah, so we'll find out what Tunon wants. He wanted to speak with us privately. If you have a look at his stats over here, you'll see that he's a very powerful being. A lot of dodge defense, a lot of parry. Endurance defense is his lowest against real physical pain and afflictions. Very high will defense, extremely high magic defense. That's just incredible. If I have a look at our own magic defense, where is it? Magic skills. No, that's weapon skills, active effects. Where's the magic defense? Yeah, over here. We only have 70. 34, 34, 61 and 47. So we are not very, very defensible. He has a very low magic defense. So Tunon is indeed a super powerful being, as you would expect from a entity that has been there nearly since the start of Kyros' conquest. Very old being, very powerful being.
On it.
And we are their vassal. So let's see what they have to say.
This civil war, this feud, is an insult to Kyros' peace. It should not have taken the better part of a year to silence the last vestiges of the Oathbreakers.
Tunon regards you in thoughtful silence. When we were talking outside with the disfavored and the scholar Kyros around, I held back because I didn't know where he wanted to go and all that. But there's really no need to hold back when he asked us to privately speak with him. So I'm not going to go for the say nothing option here, just because it doesn't make sense. I agree, Your Honor.
Our allies squabble while our enemies regroup. It falls upon the court to measure the extent of the damage and to execute the agents of disorder. I suspect that treachery, negligence, disunity, and greed have infected one or both of our esteemed allies. Until you are instructed otherwise, this matter is the court's primary focus.
Okay. I agree. Treachery, negligence, disunity, and greed. I mean, these are archons of an evil empire. What would you expect?
Graven Ash and the voices of Horath must be examined in close detail. You are charged with observing the Archons and presenting your case that one of them has wrought chaos and disorder upon the tiers.
Okay. Could they both be guilty, which is what I'm suspecting?
It's possible, but the momentum of the conquest up to this point suggests otherwise. The failure at Vendrian's well implies a coordinated will behind the chaos.
Okay. Well, maybe it's not them at all. Maybe there's a third power, a laughing third in the shadows pulling the strings. Maybe just feeding the voices of Nerat enough success to sort of nurse or nourish his delusions of grandeur, and sort of giving Graven Ash enough losses that he sort of gets slower and slower and less willing to actually commit his soldiers for an attack. Could be.
As always, you will be held accountable for what you do in the court's name. But you are free to conduct your investigation in the manner of your choosing. You must expect lies, misdirection, and manipulation. Suffer not such obstructions of justice.
I shall not.
The disfavored seem the logical first step in your inquiry. The Legion holds you in some esteem, and Graven Ash has shown deference to the court in times past. No doubt the disfavored will be rife with accusations and evidence against the voices of Nerat. Graven Ash is a noble man, but never underestimate his capacity for deception. A wise general succeeds by knowing when to be unreadable to the enemy.
Yeah, I agree. He is a lot more savvy than he lets on. He's playing the grizzled old man, and he certainly has a bit of a problem with his intimate connection to his soldiers, so that every soldier that he loses sort of really hurts him because they're all bonded to him. But yeah, I guess he definitely knows more than he lets on.
You should, of course, speak with the Scarlet Chorus and gather their testimony. But it stands to reason that most in the chorus would sooner brag about a pauldron fashioned from your skull than entertain your questions. Do not regret killing the rabble that impede your investigation. They will be easily replaced.
All right, with pleasure. I will kill everyone that gets into my way or gets in the way of justice. If Graven Ash were guilty, I'd imagine all his soldiers would lie for him. That's true.
I concur. Graven Ash has a reputation for honor and nobility, but nobody is above reproach. If he is guilty of treachery in some fashion, his loyal soldiers will not be the ones to betray him. But if anyone is conducting a symphony of lies, common sense would point to the voices of Nerat.
Yeah, but that makes it so very convenient. I was really buying the act of Graven Ash up until the point where we actually found out that he had some sort of truce going. On the other hand, yeah, but that could also have been the last poison dart. Do you remember that the last commander of the Vendrian Guard that we found in the Apex room? That she said just before she died, sent my regards to the voices of Nerat and thanks for his help. We could never have done this without his help. I think she might be clever enough to use this to sow more discord among the two armies and sort of help further her cause, because she really seemed like a fanatic. Why would she give me a look into her cards if she didn't do that? She really wasn't forced to do it. So it could be that Graven Ash is sort of the perpetrator here. We'll find out. We'll find out.
Your fellow Fatebinders have been busy acting as my eyes and ears. I have a few leads for you to follow. You should, of course, speak with your brothers and sisters of the court if you need further counsel.
I think I will do that. I was sort of thinking of putting that into a bonus episode, but now that we have been tasked with this investigation, it is sort of directly pertaining to the plot. So I'm gonna do that in this main episode and sort of pull it in, because we might actually need those hints.
The disfavored have made use of the Sage's network of dovecotes and messenger birds as they come under capture. I've heard multiple claims of strategic communications gone missing.
Okay.
The Sages are broken, their citadel in flames, but they were not slaughtered to the last. Some of their numbers still congregate around the smoking husk of their burning library. If they have been reading disfavored communications, learn what they learned, then execute them.
Right, I would relish a chance to go back to the burning library, maybe get some of that knowledge out of there.
The Oathbreakers were reported to be using iron armaments, more than they might acquire from looting what few disfavored they killed. Any iron in the tiers not rusted through was made by forge-bound hands in Lethian's Crossing. Between craftsman and quartermaster, someone let iron fall into enemy hands. Investigate this matter and bring the thieves to justice.
Yeah, I'll have to. That was the biggest mistake I made during the conquest. I gave the Scarlet Chorus the custody of Lethian's Crossing, which I should never have done. I was just not... I mean, my reasoning was back then in the day that the disfavored have so few numbers that they sort of should be spared of doing garrison duty and such. But I basically took away their weapon while doing that. And the Scarlet Chorus, they just sent a bunch of raw green recruits that are very corruptible into that thing. I really should have thought better of that. So I have to take part of the blame of this. But yeah, sort of following the iron back to its source is certainly a good idea.
There is a final matter to discuss. A sensitive topic.
Though it's impossible to gauge from his expression, Tunon seems more weary than usual. What concerns the court, Your Honor?
In spite of the many shortcomings at Vendrian's Well, you managed to make a name for yourself. You proclaimed an Edict of Kyros, resolved its demanding conditions, and ascended the mountain spire.
Right, I didn't do it by myself, but oh well, yeah, I did.
Any one of these feats would be worthy of recognition by the highest authority. You managed to accomplish 3.
Tunon hovers in observance, awaiting a response. I think I'm gonna go with that one. I don't want to see my parents die. I have to be a loyal dog, at least until I have sort of gathered enough power maybe to do my own thing. Maybe these spires are actually the way out, but I definitely have to play my cards very close to my chest. Not let anything on. I'm sort of imagining this as sort of being the same situation that you have in the Harry Potter books, where you have Severus Snape and Voldemort, the Dark Lord, and the Dark Lord is a very good legilimenter. He can try to penetrate your mind and sort of read what's on your mind. So you, if you're someone like Severus Snape, who is a very own agenda and is working against the prime evil, then you have to be a good a person that knows a lot about occlumentic, sort of keeping your mind closed. Now, we don't know if there are any telepathic abilities over here, but I don't want to let anything on. We're going to play our cards very close to our chest. I was only doing my job, Your Honor.
Your sense of obligation to your role is admirable, but modesty will not recommend you to the task ahead.
Well, we'll see about that.
Whether by design or by accident, you have captured the attention of Kyros' army and the local tiersmen alike. This is no small opportunity, and the court charges you with exploiting your new standing to its fullest potential.
What is my standing, though? I'm mainly feared by people. Well, maybe they see me as capable, or try to use me.
You have a title in our hierarchy. However, it's a little-known secret that one's standing in the world is determined by their infamy, their deeds, and how they come to be known. Mind this notion as you bring justice to this lawless frontier. There may come a time when your deeds speak for you louder than any title.
Okay, so it's basically saying I can't rely on always swinging my weight around as being a fate binder. I have to do this with everything that I have, all the resources.
Whatever you did to capture the attention of the masses at Vendrian's Well, I would encourage you to do so again.
Understood. I will be known as a champion of justice.
Good. It falls to us to set a new standard for these southern barbarians.
Right.
You are dismissed. Should the court have need of your presence, you will receive word. Go forth and do my bidding, and bring glory and honor to the tears in Kyros' name.
Tunon raps his gavel against the floor, the singular note resounding throughout the hall. For Kyros! Oh, he's gone! He's just vanished. Oh no, he went over there. Oh, we gained a bunch of abilities. Control lightning, level up. We still have the Spire bonus. Oh yeah, and we have that because we are sort of on the good side of the disfavored. Barrick has leveled up. What should I do with him though? Armor deflection. Yeah, I think we're gonna go for more vitality. That's sort of done good things for us, I think. So go for that one. Lantry, you already leveled up. And Ebb. Of all the companions that I have, I think Lantry is the most likely to betray me. You would think it might be worse or Barrick, but I think Lantry is playing a very deep game. We sort of had our bonus episode with him, but he's way cleverer than he lets on. He's 84. He's running around. He strategically sought me out. He admitted to that in the bonus episode. I still cannot quite fathom what his game is. He's sort of saying, yeah, I'm a historian, I want to know stuff. But that could all be a ruse. And he even admitted that he had been brought into the Citadel and into the Sages by the voices of Horath, who paid his tuition in exchange for help. So that's pretty creepy. All that we know about him marks him out as someone who is not to be trusted at all. So I will try to keep that in mind. He's a very good companion though, and because he can heal and he has a high lore skill and all that. Ab, for all her contrarianness, she's actually not as much of a liability as Lantry. She's actually pretty good. I mean, she has less magical skills than Lantry, but only because I haven't really been building her up to use a lot of different magic. Barrick, I think if I can finally gain his complete loyalty, maybe by getting him out of his armor, we'll be in a very good shape. Currently, I think he is, like my companions say, more loyal to Graven Ash than to me, which could pose a problem should my investigation actually turn out to show that Graven Ash is guilty. Now I'm at 103 lore skill, but I think I gained 5 from the Spire, so I definitely have to sort of rush and get to 105 so that I can use my spells. I have a couple of spells that I think actually require 100, so it would be kind of nasty if I couldn't use them anymore. Well, it's only one. It's only the Phantom Bolt, which is going to drain enemies and give some of their health back to me, which is amazing. Amazing. I mean, I'm not very good at controlling the Gravelight yet, but I can just continue to use it and we'll get better and better. I'm best with Control Lightning, and then I'm also rather okay with Control Fire because I have that Fire Eye Stone. Hope we can find something like that for other stuff as well, but I'm sort of really working towards getting my magic done. Right, so let's get down. Oh yeah, I still have a skill for Barrick that I should give away. Barrick, come on. Further increases the number of enemies that Barrick can engage. I think we want that. I think that should be a no-brainer basically. Go for that one. Hold as many people in your aggro range as possible. And I have one point. Was thinking about going for this, giving me more spell slots. The other way to do this is gaining the spell reflection over here for my energy shield, and then I want that one, the Chaos Blast, which would require me to put a couple more points into these imbue the elements fire. These are valid for all weapons, so it should be valid for my staff as well. And that's going to add additional damage to all my staff attacks. Could be pretty useful, because I want that one. The Empowered Chaos. Chaos Blast to knock back enemies, inflict them with random powerful effects. That's sort of the end of the tree, and I'm debating whether I should really focus on getting down that tree as early as possible to have that available, or if I should divert my strength a little bit and sort of go down that route. Go for the Arbiter of Knowledge and gain additional spell slots. That's 2 plus 2 party spell slots. That's pretty powerful. If I could load up more spells, I would have more abilities that I can use before I'm out of them. And especially in prolonged fights, we actually did have problems with doing this. So let me know what you think in the comments. I'm not gonna commit right now, mainly because neither of the two abilities are really gonna help me. But I would very much appreciate to hear your opinion. Should we go for leadership to get the spell slots as early as possible? Or should we go and try to get to the empowered chaos as fast as possible, and in the process sort of add additional magic damage to our staff? That's really very much the question here. Now, yes. I want to talk with my Fatebinders. I wonder if Tunon has anything more to say. You return. It is gratifying to see that the war has not caused you to forget your roots. Yeah, he really likes me. I'm nearly there for tier 4. Okay. What is it you wish to know? Tell me about Kyros. Oh, keep telling me that because I have favor too. Kyros is our overlord. She ushers us from the brink of chaos with a stern hand and gestures to the way of peace. So she is actually a she. Kyros is a she. Very good to know. I will never have to sort of work my way around it by going for they or them or whatever. Kyros, her. Good to know. Ushers us from the brink of chaos with a stern hand and gestures to the way of peace. We are only too eager to follow in her perfect example. Interesting to think that they don't think about themselves as evil, but in a way that is sort of true. If you have one overlord ruling over the whole land, it might actually be better for prosperity and the common folk to have that happen, instead of having dozens and dozens of warring but sort of free kingdoms. The Roman Empire did a lot of good for all the areas that they sort of ruled over. Just because they could keep the peace, they had sort of a unified economical idea, and it was stability. Stability is the most important for the common people. Okay, we're only too eager to follow in her perfect example. How old is Kyros? By our reckoning, her age upon Terratus is magnificent. Her true span defies measurement by our limited construct of time. It would be a waste to spend our few pitiable years attempting to solve that riddle of existence. Okay. Think of Kyros not as subject to beginnings or endings. Kyros is, and Kyros will ever be. Right. What is your relationship to Kyros? She is my master, and I her dutiful pupil. In this respect, you and I are no different. I have the honor of Kyros' confidence. She trusts me to enact her law upon the boundless territory of her rule. I'm only too grateful to serve. I am the voice of Kyros' will, the harbinger of her judgment, and the arm of her justice. Do you think Kyros' laws are fair? Right. Do you think Kyros' laws are fair? That is an irrelevant question. Kyros is law. Oh, that really hurt me, right? No, I didn't actually lose favor. I just gained wrath. Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to hear what he has to say. Kyros is law. It is the responsibility of fairness to conform to Kyros' definition of it. And anyone who believes otherwise is an agent of anarchy. Right. Contemplate this as you deliver Kyros' peace to the frontier. If you fail to understand the importance and immutability of Kyros' law, then your work is but a preservation of justice. Couldn't help but notice that you refer to Kyros as a woman. Beware of that trajectory of thought. Save for her perfection, there is little about Kyros to which we could ascribe recognizable attributes. A power as distant and unknowable as the Overlord should transcend our petty dualities. Yeah, that's about what I thought. Interesting. Interesting. Male, female, makes no difference. Kyros is mother to us all. She doesn't really seem very motherly, but who knows? Let me ask you about something else. He's gonna hate me at the end of that conversation. Ask, but be cautious with your time. The tears do not rest. Tell me about Bled and Mark. That is his assassin. The knife in the shadows. He is my headsman and an assassin without equal. His official designation in Kyros' hierarchy is the Archon of Shadows, though I wonder that he ever considers himself aught but a slayer of the unjust. How did he earn his title? His work away from the court takes Bled and Mark to the dark places of the world, the Tears and Northern Empire alike. Over time, Shadows became his dominion. They cloak him, protect him, and even fight for him if the need arises. So, yeah, all that we've learned about the Archons is basically you do a thing for a long time until you become so powerful that you sort of bring your own form of magic into the world. That is how I take it, and then you become really powerful. So it might not be impossible for us, for ourselves, to become another Archon. If we sort of play our cards right, it would be really cool. They have been built up to be these amazing, powerful beings. And that could be really interesting to sort of see how that goes. It is said that Bled and Mark can travel to any place where the shadows are cast. Only he would know this for certain. Does Bled and Mark serve you alone? Your question is flawed. We're all servants of Kyros. The Archons are also agents of their own interests. Those chosen few empowered to bring order to the world in accordance with Kyros' peace. At present, Bled and Mark is my vassal, and I, his patron. Patron, not liege? The relationship is not so different from Graven Ash and Cairn, the fallen Archon, or the voices of Nerat and his songbird, Sirin. Such partnerings and apprenticeships are common. They provide mutual benefit to the Archons involved, as well as a measure of oversight. Okay, back to my other questions. You may proceed. I'm curious about you, Archon. Curiosity is not a trait that I encourage in my servants. Too often have I witnessed such activity leading down a path to lawlessness. However, if you feel that a better understanding of me will inform your work, then I will allow it. What would you know? This is really cool. I'm super happy that I can ask him. It's one of the most fascinating figures in this whole thing, apart from Kyros. Tell me about your rise to become adjudicator. Curb your ambition, student. My path to this day is not one that could be replicated under any circumstances. However, if your curiosity is determined, I will tell you my story. If your story can teach me nothing of power, then I'm not interested. I'm going for the law question, because that sort of seems to be the thing of my guy. I wish to understand law and your execution of it. Oh, I gained favor with him. Nice, and some law experience. An admirable pursuit. You know much of Kyros' law and the maintenance of order already. My history may tell you something of how it can be used to win wars. I came into the world centuries ago, before the dream of a unified Northern Empire was fully realized. My home country lay far from the borders of Kyros' realm, and our conquest was a matter of distant speculation. Okay, so he was a human as well. Really interesting. And these Archons don't really seem to be mortal in the normal sense. I guess they can't really die once you've become sort of the embodiment of magic. And we know that you can become an Archon even if you do not bow to Kyros, because the leader of the Tide mages that Ab belongs to, she is the Archon of the Tides, or Archon of the Moon, something like that, but she did never bow to Kyros. She calls herself an Archon to annoy Kyros, but so you can become an Archon outside of this. Kyros is not necessary, He can be helpful, though. Graven Ash, I think, just became an Archon after he'd been sort of forgiven by Kyros and put into her services. Okay, my home country lay far from the borders of Kyros' realm. Our conquest was but a matter of distant speculation. Decades before rumor of Kyros' approach grew in panicked volume, I familiarized myself with the intricacies of her lore. It took me no time at all to realize the benefits of our inevitable subjugation. I took it upon myself to rise in my country's governance as an arbiter of law and drafter of covenants, building some notoriety for my execution of fair justice. As my influence and the trust of my people evolved, my decisions transcended to define future precedent. Okay, go on. What my countrymen could not have surmised was that I had woven into our customs the very backbone of Kyros' law. I set the stage for the conquest of our floundering nation to join the Overlord's empire. So he was basically a double agent all the time. He undermined and infiltrated the government of his land. No wonder Kyros actually holds him in high esteem. That is an amount of personal initiative that you really would look out for if you're an evil overlord. By the time the overlord's armies presented themselves and offered terms of surrender, we had adopted Kyros' peace in all but name. Our absorption into the Northern Empire was a matter of legal formality, negligible changes to our already beloved document of law. The people credited me as the architect of peace, and for a time called me Tunon the Fair. As my importance grew in their estimate, Kyros could not help but learn of the part I played in her bloodless victory. Kyros' law has a breadth of intricacies that is unapproachable to the masses. I was chosen to interpret and represent the Overlord's will across the Northern Empire and beyond, this time as adjudicator. It is my pride, my duty, my life. That sounds rather disrespectful. We'll see how it goes. What does it mean to be an Archon? I am a figure of power and significance, and under Kyros' mandate, I am able to exercise my authority for the benefit of all. Had I not earned the Overlord's approval, I would not stand tall before you. Interesting. That's super interesting. I'm so glad that we can pick his brains. Did you come into power yourself, or did Kyros foster your talents? An astute question. Doubtless, I exhibited some spark of potential on my own. Insignificant, though enough to accomplish deeds of note. Only under Kyros' tutelage have I grown to these heights. Could anyone become an Archon? Absolutely not. Only a precious few grow into this authority. Were it otherwise, Territus would descend into pandemonium. Of those few who rise into power, fewer still have the self-control to make lawful use of their talents. And of those who can, fewer still are deemed worthy of Kyros' approval. That leads nicely into the next question. Is every Archon subservient to Kyros? We already know that it isn't, but I want to see what he has to say about it. All are subservient before Kyros, but I intuit your meaning. And I resent your wording, he could say. The Overlord takes great pains to recognize potential. Before an Archon comes into their power, they will have faced the harshest scrutiny by an agent of recruitment, if not Bled and Mark himself. Those who are found worthy of incredible deeds, but refuse to join their strength to the needs of the Empire, are doomed to die. Those who wish to make a name for themselves are invited into the fold, to serve and rule the needs of the Empire. That is the price of power in Kyros' hierarchy. Let's go back to my questions about you. Very well, Fatebinder. What would you know of me? What's the deal with your mask? Yeah, I thought he would be pissed about that. This should be obvious to you by now, student. Since the answer is relevant to your duties, I will tolerate your ignorance and explain. You must be pretty pissed with me by now. Oh, I'm nearly there for tier 5. Holy crap, he really likes me. The face is an uncontrollable warren of muscle spasms and reactionary contortions. sickening in its display of every petty bias. I cannot be trusted to audience or judge a dispute without navigating a gauntlet of subjectivity for all to witness. Go on. I sort of understand where he's coming from. In my early days, before the Northern Empire spread to my lands, I fashioned the mask of listening out of stern, uncaring wood. This expression of enduring patience hearkens the testimony of my petitioners, taking in all evidence before weighing matters in their due course. Later in my career, Kyros herself gifted me the mask of resolve. You will find it almost identical to the mask of listening, save for the brow furrowed in contemplation and weighed down by the burden of judgment. This is the face that dispenses law, often the most exacting and unforgiving sort. I wore it when I brought Kyros' devastating judgment to the bastard city, and doubtless I will wear it again. Oh man, I really shouldn't ask him that. But I will. I guess you guys are interested as well. Let's go for that one. Does the Mask of Resolve grant you the power of judgment? An astute question. Kyros would certainly be within her authority to grant me the function to do extraordinary deeds. But no, the mask is a symbol. Justice itself grants me power. An objective ruling is its own consent to enact incredible wonders. Such is my right as the Archon of Law. When I recognize a jurisprudent need, there is nothing I cannot do. I wore it when I brought Kyros' devastating... Oh yeah, okay, we already read that. I'm gonna ask him that. Why not? You guys wanna know what he says. Tunon hovers in silence, staring down at you. Excuse me, he's trying to stare me into submission. No, I won't back down, Your Honor. The shadows wreathing Tunon's feet whip about like waves in a storm, ebbing and flowing in your direction. An unmistakable air of danger fills the room. He really doesn't want to talk about it. Maybe I should let this one slide. It's not wise to do that. Let's return to my other questions. I think that would be best. Keep your things to yourself. I'm sure you're hideous under it. I mean beautiful. Did you come up with the Office of Fatebinders? Indirectly, yes. Just as I am the representative of Kyros' law across Territus. You are the face of my judgment for the people. I took inspiration from the Overlord's example, as we all should. The people needed an approachable face to settle their grievances, and I am not available to adjudicate on every sharecropper's dispute. The Fatebinders were an inevitable solution. Why is curiosity such a problem? I'm curious about curiosity. Which means I'm a pain in the butt. Because my vassals are not selected for their independence of thought. You are an agent of law, the execution of which falls within strict confines. Your intellect may aid the tasks ahead of you, but your unwavering obedience is of greater value to me. Gonna go for that one. Don't you want me to interpret Kyros' law to fit any circumstance? Naturally, but take care not to let your intellect veer you from the straightforward path. I have seen it happen, and lost more than one pupil who thought themselves above their station, convinced that they knew better. What happened to those pupils? Do I really need to ask? I'm going to. Anyone who oversteps their bounds is given the opportunity to amend their ways. Those who fail to heed my warnings show contempt for Kyros' peace and are treated accordingly. The purpose of law is to set the standard for others. Though I am generous with the freedom I offer to Fatebinders, you are still inextricably tied to Kyros' law. Straining that tether to a breaking point will reflect poorly upon you. Okay, back to my previous questions. I wish to speak about matters of law. Yes, please. then you are well situated, for my court is the legal heart of this corrupt and uncivilized realm. What matters draw your curiosity? You are already well versed in Kyros' laws, but I am happy to discuss the particulars. Okay, I wish to discuss Kyros' piece. Really cool that I can read all of that. If you're watching this, I'm sure you enjoy it. If you watched 20 episodes, 21 with this one, and maybe you even watched the bonus episodes. It's just a lot of reading, but it is really part of the enjoyment of these games, sort of learning more about these characters and doing all that. It cannot always be combat and action. I hope you understand, and I don't think you would be a fan of CRPGs otherwise. I'll do my best to sort of increase the pacing. I'm learning as I go. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this, and I hope you do as well. I wish to discuss Kyros' piece. The cornerstone of our wartime efforts, of course. Kyros' piece guarantees all willing supplicants under the Overlord's authority a place in her world. The exact wording of the bylaw is, your life is not yours to discard. The Overlord has plans for you. Oh, right. This extends to several spheres of influence. Among others, it grants protection to enemies who surrender in a time of war, and it forbids suicide. To dispense with the Overlord's vessel and property is prohibited. Okay, so you can't really kill people willy-nilly in the Conquest. Makes sense to have such a law. I think I have overstepped that one. I sort of killed this nasty old man in Echo Call Crossing, the guy who stole the iron, or at least stored the iron in his house. That was not good. And he was such an asshole. Remind me how the Overlord's name may be used. It is not forbidden to cross one's tongue with Kyros' name, but it behooves one to use caution and respect. The Overlord's name is not yours to give, whether to progeny, product, location, or abstraction. Slander of the Overlord is punishable by death. There's only one Kyros, and her name is safeguarded. No one may say Kyros and have it obfuscated by a second meaning. Neither will her name be associated to trivialities. A gambler will not attribute his fortune to Kyros' luck, or his misfortune to Kyros' scorn. Such an association lowers the Overlord in the public estimate, and is rightly considered slander most foul. Let's discuss the Old Walls. The Old Walls are forbidden, as are their contents and their denizens. Owning any item from the Old Walls is considered trespass, regardless of how it came into your possession. Mind that in the course of your travels. Okay, so we cannot plunder these Old Walls. The Bane live there, sort of creatures. Their full name is Mage's Bane, and they seem to sort of feed on magic. So whenever you use magic, you sort of show yourself as their prey. But there seem to be very powerful magical items in there and all that. I guess Kyros wants to sort of reserve those for themselves. Maybe that could be our way to power, though. I don't know. As the Old Walls extend across much of the Tiers and Northern Empire alike, Kyros permits her servants to pass only where she has sculpted the landscape to permit traverse. Kyros is really powerful, sculpting the landscape. Under no circumstance are you to enter a breach in the Old Walls, even for a task as innocent as crossing to the other side. If these restrictions seem too severe, I would remind you that they are for the protection of Kyros' subjects. The Overlord has no desire to see harm needlessly inflicted upon her loyal followers. Yeah, it's only for your own good. Don't go in there where the incredible, powerful magical items are. It's only to help you. Remind me of the Magician's Folly. We already encountered that one. Practitioners of the arcane arts must be sanctioned by one of Kyros' guilds, such as the Blood Chanters or Forgebound. Rogue magicians with a tenuous grasp of unknown powers will not be tolerated. Okay, must be sanctioned by one of Kyros' guilds. Interesting. Ab lowers her gaze to the ground, thumbing the cords of her bandolier in a thinly veiled attempt to appear uninvolved in the discussion. So long as your Tidecaster remains your deputy, she will have the protection of the court. But not a moment longer. I must allow you to have the most fearsome agents at your side to dispense justice. But you remain culpable for her actions. Huh. So if I start fondling that tall slab of handsome over there, you're the one guilty of molesting him? I can live with this. I'm laughing my ass off. She points to Nunawal, who shuffles nervously at Eb's glance. I'm guessing that it's one of these Fatebinders over here. Tunon is speaking. Mind your manners. A sanctioned mage whose spellcasting causes damage to life or property is lawfully deemed innocent, as long as they practice their art in the service of Kyros. All is forgiven. Okay. Let's speak of quotas and sharing. The harvest blooms and blights by the will of Kyros. In times of lean, you will be fed. In times of wealth, you will feed others. This law is a sizable category unto itself, serving many needs at once. Trade and tax being only two examples. The broadest intent of the law is to empower Kyros' subject to care for their neighbor and expect care in return. You might take note of the law's application to trade. A merchant's right to peddle their wares is defined by permits granted annually. The regional authority has the right to decide if a merchant sells cabbage one year and sandals the next. Anyone breaking through their restrictions is subject to immediate forfeiture of all assets. You need not concern yourself over the nuances, at least until they apply to this contested realm in a time of peace. Okay, so in wartime, more things go, I guess. I'm curious about the restriction of forbidden knowledge. Kyros herself sets the standards on what can and cannot be known. These restrictions are rarely enforced, but they are worth taking into account. During the war, for example, Kyros deemed the knowledge of the Vellum Citadel taboo. No one may possess the wisdom of that fallen repository, save Kyros herself. Yeah, that's actually a problem because I want that knowledge. Calling it a taboo seems a bit like overkill, but to play Kyros' advocate, the devil's advocate, the world would hardly be safer if all had access to the law of making poisons or the art of arming brigands in fine bronze. This is for the protection of the subjects before the coming of Kyros, during the ages of anarchy and discord. Powerful knowledge in undeserving hands leveled empires without thought or mercy. Kyros has no desire to revisit those dark times. That's a stupid question. Am I beholden to these laws? I'm gonna ask it anyways. That should not be in question. We're all subjects of Kyros. Her laws define and regulate our very way of life. With that said, as an agent of law, you're granted more leeway than a soldier or citizen. You may find yourself compelled to commit morally questionable acts in the name of Kyros. If it serves the court's justice, much may be forgiven. So the rules don't apply to you so long as you're enforcing them on someone else. I want your job. Well, I guess you do. If the court finds any of your actions suspect, we will summon you to answer for yourself. Your testimony will be heard and judgment rendered. You are exceedingly curious about the application of Kyros' law. I find it refreshing that you would seek my counsel, Fatebinder. He likes me. He likes me really a lot. We're nearly at level 5 favor. I wonder what you get if you're fully favored by him. Back to my previous questions. I have no more questions. Then be on your way. Right, this was a very, very interesting episode, I gotta say. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. Next time we'll have a short chat with these Fatebinders over here to sort of find out what pertains to our new quest. And then it's gonna be sort of interesting what we do. I think we might actually be best off if we were to sort of go after the Sunset Spire first, try to find out what it has, what's sort of pertaining to these spires, find out what they're doing. The interesting thing is that there seem to be two spires over here as well in the Stone Sea. So not sure what's up with that. I guess we'll find out. We could also go to Iron Hearth. Not sure if that's a good idea though. At least not for now. I think we want to explore the spires and find out what they can do. And Wendrin's Well might also be sort of interesting. But yeah, for now I'm going to end it here. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. If you didn't, tell me why in the comments so I can improve. Also tell me in the comments what route you think I should go down to. If I should go down the full magic path to gain the empowered chaos as fast as possible. Or if I should go down for the increased spell slots. Both are viable options. I would be interested to know what you have to say. And if you want to see more of this series and are not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. I hope you join me next time. Thanks and bye bye.